While we continue to see scaling with GPUs, it's difficult to ignore how stagnant the CPU market has become over the last few years.
You make me remember this.
Video, photo, audio,
Stop. I don't know where this industry standard was established, where the goal is to have way too much sibilance and overdo your processing until the point where every single time somebody tunes in, all they get is fucking ear rape. But I can't stand it. I mean, there's a couple of YouTubers I watch where, I mean, I ain't even gonna lie. Sometimes I'll be putting a fucking de-esser on the track. Okay. I mean, it's infuriating. There's too much. And so I want to show you what all these, content creators are doing wrong and how you can avoid doing that. Now, before I dive real deep into this, I just want to point out only 15% of the people who actually watch my videos are subscribed, and it's not good. Okay, I need those numbers. I ain't gonna lie. Try to get monetized. Help me out, bro. Throw me a sub. So let's just jump straight into the first major thing that these people always get wrong. EQ. They always over EQ. And I'm going to show you an example of under EQing and an example of over EQing. So this is a completely raw track of my microphone. There's a couple of things that you're going to take away from this right away, and that's sibilance. There's too much sibilance. Overall, this is just a very dull sound, and it has way too much sibilance. So how do we take care of this? Okay, and let me show you what these streamers are probably doing. So this is a stock plugin in Ableton called EQ3. And the second I turn it on, right, listen to how it sounds off and then turn it on. The second I turn it on, it is already coloring how I sound. And usually what it seems to be with these guys is there's very few mids. So we'll do like -4 on the mids, and there's too much brightness. So we'll boost the brightness by 2. In some cases with the voicemeeter guys, it seems like there's just so much fucking low end, right? Automatically right away. Like, listen to the difference in just that. And the maximum cut is 4 decibels, but something like this is already infuriating. I'm kind of referencing AirPods Vox with this one. I can't stand it. And then we go into compression, right? Doing way too much compression on top of this. So here we have a compressor, and what we're going to do is bring it all the way down, and that's it. That's our compression right there, because these people don't use tools that allow them to change the settings. They just throw presets on. So this is the sound. This is our golden stream. Let's boost it a bit. All right. And then we need to go and get a gate. We need to have background noise removal, right? So now we put a gate on, and these streamers, they have their gate set in a way that has instant attack, like incredibly shitty release, and they do way too much. So now they have this this sound that it cuts in and out, and it's insane how fucking bad it is. And they don't know what a de-esser is. Like, this is like the golden streamer sound. This is what you hear Jay Schlatt doing when it's, oh my God. Shroud is a good example of a really shitty gate. I can't stand it. I got to get rid of that. So right off the gate, you heard a lot of bad. So let's try some good. So since this is a dull microphone, the first thing that I'm really going to focus on is cleaning up the high end. And I'm not going to try to do a lot. We can hear like that's a majority of the high end. And if I boost that, say, by 15 decibels, all right, this is already starting to be too much, right? So we're going too far. So maybe 8 decibels there is, but now as we start to boost the brightness, and let's overdo it. Let's do 20 decibels, for example. And just to make my life easier and maybe not want to fucking blow my brains out, I'm going to put a high cut there as well, just so it kind of tames it a bit. But now we get into the sibilance range, and now we have too much sibilance. So what I'm going to do for a de-esser, look at that. What I'm going to do for a de-esser is a dynamic band inside of Pro Q3. This is like my favorite fucking EQ. So we can pinpoint the sibilance with that tool holding down the headphones. So we know this is one of the major sibilant areas. So what I can do is take the dynamic range down, and I'm going to do it by like 8 decibels. I really want to beat the shit out of this. And then I'm going to make it to where my sibilant point is the only thing that starts to get hit by that. So now as I do sibilant stuff, it's cleaned up. Now I do see some over here as well, and when it comes to sibilants, I want to beat the absolute shit out of it. So I'm gonna definitely be hitting that as well. So now my sibilant stuff, it sounds significantly cleaner. Even then, it's still not even enough, but we're gonna keep it like that. So now that I've done that, I feel like the brightness isn't as much as I would like it to be, and I'm gonna crank this shit all the way to 30, right? Oh, that's too much, right? So you need to find a balance. You can't just use presets like that. Even 20 is a little too much. So we're just gonna leave it at 15 for now, and we'll come back to it later. I do hear one frequency right around here. Not a big fan of that, so I will be taking that one out a bit. But other than that, you know, I'm not gonna touch that. That is the general basic of the EQ for this specific case. I'm not hearing a lot of super problematic stuff. If we really wanted to go super deep into it, there's a frequency. There's this frequency right here that's also kind of annoying. Maybe you could do like a cut of 1.5 right there. And, you know, I do also hear a mid frequency. I hear 2 mid frequencies right there, but when it comes to EQ, like this stuff, look at this. This is so much. And even though it's zoomed in, even zooming out, it still looks like so much. You know, the goal with EQ is not to overdo it. The raw sound of the microphone is 90% of what sounds good. You know what I'm saying? So then after that, we go into a compressor. And the thing that these people get wrong with their compression is they overdo it. Like I was mentioning earlier, with compression, with all these presets that these people use, there's no way to adjust the attack and the release and the ratio and the knee and all that shit. And when you have live spoken word, you don't want a high ratio. Like I'm going to stick to 1.7 for now. You want a slower attack, so I'm going to do maybe like 30 milliseconds on that, and you want a pretty fast release. I'll just do 10 milliseconds. And then I'm going to bring this threshold not to crush the shit out of the sound. It's only going to be at my very peak. So when I start to get loud, then my compressor hits. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to do a lot, and I am going to use that to boost the audio a bit. Another big thing that I do see a lot with streamers is you can see right now my level is way too high. As I just hit 0 right there. You don't want that. You don't want to get loud. So another thing that I recommend putting on your mic track when you're doing all this shit is a limiter. And I'm going to do like 20 milliseconds release as a low look ahead. But now my loudest point, you know, it gets like there and it's good. It's even. We don't got to fuck with it anymore. So now comes the topic of background noise. You can hear in my room, there's a low rumble from my HVAC. There's obviously a lot of preamp noise coming from my interface. So we need to tackle that in an efficient way. And that doesn't mean grabbing a gate and then just beating the shit out of it. You can hear, it cuts out. You can still hear the noise. And if I tap anything, it's very choppy. It's just not even. So I'm actually going to show you an interesting way that I've been doing it lately, which I do on my usual mic track. And I'm going to insert an audio track into this and insert another audio track. And I'm going to group the 3 of these. Now, right now I have this track set to sends only. So that way, you know, I can hear it in my headphones, you can hear it, all that stuff. This is really not what we want to do. And if you're going to follow along with me with this, which by the way, if you're using voicemeeter, just give up on it. Okay, don't use that anymore. It's trash. The best alternative would be to switch to a DAW. Doesn't matter what DAW you use, FL Studio, Reaper, Ableton, Bitwig, doesn't matter. I have videos on all of them. You can go find them. What I'm going to do is make this come from my mic track, which is 2, and then instead of sends only, it's going to output to the group. And so I'm going to do that. And then after we do that, this group is actually going to be what outputs to sends only. And then we can do my outputs. C goes to recording, it goes to what you hear, and B goes to what I hear. After that, on these 2 audio tracks that we just created, which we're going to label all these real quick. We'll label this one microphone. And now in my case, I have a low end rumble from my air conditioner, and I have preamp noise. For you, it's probably going to be different. I guarantee it will be. But since I'm tackling what I have in my microphone, which is what everybody should do, you shouldn't just use presets people give you. You should actually have things that are tailored to your exact setup and your voice. What I'm going to do is rename this to preamp noise. We're gonna do preamp noise there, and then here we're just gonna do rumble, for example. And it's gonna pull from this microphone track, which is going to be microphone, and we're gonna disable that for now. And then we're gonna pull from microphone here as well. And we're also gonna disable that for now. One of the most efficient ways I've found right now to tackle this preamp noise is gonna be taking Pro Q3 and then tapping a band pass somewhere around the high end where that high frequency is, and we can actually listen to that, and we can hear it's pretty much all that stuff, right? That's the major shit. And what we're going to do for this example, we'll just use a regular Ableton compressor, and with this I want to absolutely beat the shit out of this. So ratio all the way up, attack, release all the way down, knee all the way down. I'm going to bring the threshold to just over the noise floor, and then after that I'm going to grab utility and I'm going to flip the phase on that. Right away you hear it removes all of the background noise in terms of that preamp noise. There's none of that really shitty release that you heard with the gate, and there's no reduction in quality at all. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to do the same thing with the low end, but it's slightly different. So with the low end, what we're going to do is take a Pro Q3. However, this time I'm going to do a high cut. We're going to do 650 hertz. The only major thing is 12 dB per octave. We're going to click that and change that to 6. I'll show you why in a second. And then after that, we're going to do the same idea with the compressor. So ratio all the way up, attack and release all the way down, knee all the way down. And then the threshold goes just above the noise floor. Then we grab a utility, flip the phase on it, and then when we listen, so now all that low end rumble is gone. There's no attack, there's no release. Let me show you why I chose 6 dB per octave here. For example, if I do brick wall, you can hear it's a much different change, and I think part of that is coming from it being zero latency. It's not going to be as accurate as if you did something like linear phase. That works best, so I'm just going to leave it like that. So then when we mix the two, now we have our preamp noise dealt with and our low end dealt with. Now there's still noise. It's still not perfect. I'm going to show you a plugin that I do like, which is called Birdum Denoiser. It's completely free. I'll link it in the description. And this plugin to me is magic. You know, I turn this to 50, I turn this, and all I'm doing is clicking it and dragging up, and in this one I'm clicking and dragging down. And I drag all these down to the bottom, and then we'll just do 30. And this to me is already solid. And the major reason I enjoy the way this sounds is there's none of that weird attack and release. You know, it's very even. There's not a whole lot of like shitty noise there, and it gets rid of it all. At this point, then you can use a gate if you're like super anal about it. Personally, I don't think it's 100% required. I do that on my signal chain. I do have a gate there just because, you know, I'm a stickler for perfection, but it's not necessary. But now we have an even background noise removal. And if we get a little quieter, you know, or a little further away, or if we start to whisper, like, it doesn't cut out unnaturally. It stays even the entire time. And at that point, that's all you should be doing. The whole point of this was to show you have to build this stuff for your voice and for the microphone you're using. This entire process is the same idea for everybody. However, you can't follow my settings because you have a different voice, you have a different room, a different microphone, different distance to your microphone, different preamps in your interface, all this crazy shit. You know, to go in a Go XLR or a voicemeeter and just throw a preset on, it's never going to work. I'm going to show you my usual preset and ditch this one. And this is what I usually use. And it's really not far off from this one because I found it to be the sound that I just enjoy. It works well. I have the similar idea of a light EQ, you know, a de-esser and stuff. I am using a slightly different compressor. I'm using what's called CLA2A from Waves. And I have this thing called Prebox, which is a sort of fake preamp emulation. Adds some weird transients and stuff to it I enjoy. And then my background noise removal after that, because I do still do the this thing. However, I do it with Pro C2 instead of the other compressor, but it's the same idea. It's an even sound that you can listen to for a long time without it being overpowering, you know? And that's one thing I don't like about the streamers, like I mentioned. You can listen to them for 5 minutes, and then it starts to fatigue your ears. I don't like it. So yeah, do better. Join my Discord if you want help.